Welcome to I'm From the Internet, a podcast about the internet, its users, and their consequences. I am punished comedian Winslow sitting here with Brandstetter. Jay, how have you been, man?
We're entering uncharted territory in this episode. This is going to be one of the first times I don't have the document prepared for it, so it's going to be a different energy this time. I'm pretty excited.
I think the last time that I took the seat was the cum bunny. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. Or like the trucker one that we did early on when we were first starting
trucker
out.
one, yeah. I don't think we did a full cum bunny episode.
Yeah, it just came up in the context of one of them. Yeah, but the trucker, I do remember that was all you. So I needed it then. Yeah, that's just when I'd figured out I was autistic and my life was kind of, in free fall. So I'm glad you covered for me there.
Yeah. Every once in a while, we need a trucker to save ourselves,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you've been busy recovering and taking care of life and business and such. You've been doing okay over there? Or?
Yeah, I've been taking better care of myself. I haven't been cooking as much, but when I do, it's like not like I used to make a lot of sweets and kind of like treats for Fred. Whereas now it's more like I'm making healthier stuff. I'm kind of trying to take a little better care of myself since I'm the only person I'm taking care of right now. And it's I'm sort of rebuilding things and working up. I'm glad, in a weird way, the recent blizzard has been kind of nice. It's just been like a cocoon because it's like you can't really go out and do anything. So it's just don't need to feel bad about not doing anything this week.
Dog, do you have an Instant Pot?
Yes, we do. We have, I brought, when I first came here, that's one of the things I got. Cause I was like, oh dude, we got to get one of these things for you.
Dude, Instant Pot. Like, as a Midwestern, as a Nebraskan boy, apparently that's not the Midwest. I don't know. But as a Nebraskan boy, I love a heap. I love a pile of slop. I love a heap so much, I put a heap in my card game because of how much I love heaps.
Beige and warm, please.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, mine's definitely like a threatening vermilion, I would say. Yeah, no, I love an Instant Pot. I actually made a big old thing of, I've got like kind of a very lovely, chicken soup recipe that I've been doing. Like, yeah, it's the most basic thing that we've been making for 10,000 years, but I roast off a whole bunch of, warmly seasoned, potatoes and carrots. I roast those for an hour and I, bunch of chicken thighs in the Instant Pot for 8 minutes with a bit of stock in there, and like, dude, it's great. You throw a grillch in there, and you're having a fucking good time. But yeah, man, that's good to hear. You were also on fucking Qanon Anonymous.
That's right, I did. That is one of the things that's happened. I need to plug that. I did a guest spot on Qanon Anonymous. They did a memorial episode for Fred. They had me on. That was very interesting to be on a show that big that I'd been aware of for so long, and someone I knew had interacted with, but I hadn't. So it was great. They were very gracious hosts, and I had a lot of fun. I cracked them up a couple of times. It felt good.
Yeah. Obviously, there were a number of people with some pretty hostile responses to the announcement of Fred's passing, but it was very touching to see so many people who like really, really cared about the guy and like have come to the same conclusions that like he was this really brilliant man who made some huge impacts on the face of the internet in a variety of different directions, but like. Just what a lovely guy. Some of the quote tweets on our announcement of it were like people saying that like, I was in a difficult spot and like Fred would like message me to check in to make sure that I'm okay. And like, I don't know, it was in a very difficult time for me. It was very heartening to see how much people cared about the guy.
It really was. There was a huge outpouring of support, and also our episode on it. I did get some private messages about that. It was very nice. It was, this is like a really dorky equivalency, but it always makes me think of like at the end of like a farming game or something where it's like, here's all the people you made friends with because they all show up with a letter or something. It's kind of like that in a game where it's like, well, you had a major life experience. Here's all the people that you've impacted checking in to remind you where you are right now. It's in a weird way, it's a very sweet moment to experience. Yeah,
it's like the end of Fallout New Vegas, which you were playing with him, where you do find out like how much you impacted the world.
He's had a lot of ending slides these past couple weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, God. Yeah, that was interesting to see and experience, and to read more about the guy and the people that he's interacted with over the years. I did the oddities shows in Louisville, Charlotte, and Atlanta, and those were okay. Those were pretty good, some less good. But did all of those. So, like, okay, to put into perspective what my month has been before we get into the topic at hand here. Let's see. February. I drive out to Louisville from Chicago. I do the show out. I set up. I do the show out there. I drive back 2 days in town. Record a pod with you. Drive 12 hours out to Chicago. Set up. Do the show for 2 days out there. Tear down. Set up. Come all the way back. Have 2 days here, and then drive 11 hours to Atlanta. Set up. Do the show. Tear down. Drive back on Monday the 23rd, and on the 24th, I wake up after driving 11 hours and then working until about 2 in the morning. I wake up at 8 because the semi-truck with my new game arrived at the storage center, and I throw on pants, I get out the door, and I go to the storage center, and he has backed the truck up to the dock. For whatever reason, the back of the shipping container does not... it wasn't like a rolling cage, like a thing going up, or like a swinging doors situation. It was just a like heavy duty fisherman's net that was like cinched over the back, which I have never seen before. That seems really insecure to have 20,000 pounds of boxes situated like that. And a bunch of the pallets had fallen over. I would say maybe 9,000 pounds of boxes had fallen over. And there was no pallet jack. So I started the process of unloading the boxes, and the trucker guy was this Serbian dude, and he's like, no pallet jack. How we do when no pallet jack? And so I had to go rent a pallet jack, and then my partner Alex was there to help unload. We did a whole bunch of that, and we moved the boxes out, and it took all day. So that was last Tuesday, the Tuesday before yesterday, I guess. And then every single day since then has been a 16-hour day of packing up 858 orders of the Restless to ship to every corner of the goddamn world. All of that while going through, let's say, difficulties. Life has been a real fucking nightmare, but yeah, it's been just a suffocating maelstrom of challenges and heartache and pain and physical agony, because I'm moving 20,000 pounds of boxes. My hands are all fucked up because of like just shredded paper cuts. I don't know if you've ever walked by a bin full of open envelopes. But, like, if you walk by at the right angle where they're all stiff, you can just, like, turn your forearm into croissant meat, you know? It just flaps, just all shredded.
Anyone who's never handled paper, like, all day at a job doesn't know how dehydrating it is as a material. Like, there's a reason archivists always wear those little, like, finger condoms or gloves.
Yeah. And it's like if you're working in a kitchen and you have to do anything with garlic, you will do the first time, you'll be doing it just like cutting it without gloves on. And then you'll go home, and the next day your fingertips will split open. And then you'll come back and go, yes, garlic, very astringent. And you will wear gloves forever. It's nuts. My hands are a fucking disaster. And like, I mean, just last night, I needed more copies of the game to ship out. And so I just, with a friend, went to my storage unit, put just under a metric ton of card games into my truck, took it back to my house, unloaded it from my house upstairs into the apartment, downstairs into the basement, 54 times. It was... I look great. My arms are just like fucking butter. They're just like jello. They're falling off the bone. But all of that to say, my game is out, and I thought we would take this episode to talk about the history of the Tarot Restless, the Restless, and what the development process for all of it was. Before we get into that, we do have a Patreon. $1 a month. You get a ton of bonus episodes that are fully conceived, real-ass episodes with jokes and stories, and they are just episodes that didn't quite fit our main feed. But there's just $1 a month, and all of that money goes to Jay and Steve. So please check it out. And also, like and subscribe, like us, and drop us a review. It really genuinely helps us. I know that everybody says, please do that, but it's true. It actually helps, especially if there's like rival internet podcasts that we're trying to oust. So please check that out. And we have plugs and all that shit at the end.
And like, I know from experience that like with ratings, it can be really frustrating because I don't have an Apple account and you can't register one without giving them your phone number and such. So it's like, I'm not going to give Apple my phone number to give a review. I get that. So if you're in my situation and you don't, like when we made this show, we had to use Winslow's Apple account to put the show on the iTunes podcasting marketplace, whatever they call it. See, that's how little I know about Mac stuff. But anyways, so the point is, if you can't do that on the iTunes, which is the big one, usually your app or site that you use will have one. Like I don't recommend going to those like weird third-party scrapers or whatever, but like I use Pocket Casts. They have their own sort of in-house like rating system. You can just click there and rate it right there in the app, something like that. It does help. And that's how I found out about new podcasts, is through the recommendations.
Cast your minds back to 2015. I was in a relationship with someone that I really thought I was going to marry. I really was very passionate about it. I'm in my 20s at the time. And so multiply everything that I'm feeling by 1,000, but also divide it by who gives a fuck what you're feeling in your 20s. You know what I mean? But this was like a really meaningful relationship with somebody that I think I met her in the 6th grade. And it so like, you know, hit me in puberty and like watched me, we watched each other grow. And there's all this like, you know, we're very deeply enmeshed people, very close to my identity. And I kind of describe these kind of meaningful relationships, platonic or romantic, as being kind of cosmic, because it just feels like it's in the fabric of your life, right? That rapidly turned into a nightmare. And as that is getting ripped apart, I had a good friend kind of really stabbed me in the back in kind of a gross way. And then, my friend Allie died. And then, somebody I don't think it's fair to call them a friend, but they were somebody that was very meaningful to me. Nick Kushner, he died as well. Nick Kushner was the guy who ran the Nacht Cabaret, which was the website where he posted his, and I believe some other people's, essays explaining how Marilyn Manson uses art and imagery and symbols throughout his work. The website is still up. It was based in Flash, so now it's just kind of a skeleton of what it was, but all the information is still there. You can still read all of his articles there, and I highly recommend it if you're into art, esotericism, Manson, any of that stuff. He was a very, very gifted man. Then there was my relationship ended, and then my dog died, and then that same day, I needed to go and do my spot on the Crom Comedy Festival in Omaha, Nebraska. So it was raw to say the least, right? So I had been like dabbling in pens for a little bit around that time. I had been drawing a few things. I made a couple other art pieces that, you know, if I were more prepared, I could actually show you. But they were like, I would practice drawing things while at my job at Marriott, where I would just like find a super high res image of like a highly detailed mummy and just draw it and just like, you know, meticulously add in all of the little like fibers and the gore and all like the desiccated skin, because I'm into the minutia, the little details. And I had fun with that. And I also had a tarot deck sitting around, and tarot had never meant too much to me. I was exposed to it because Marilyn Manson's Hollywood album had an aspect of tarot to it. Tarot appears in The Binding of Isaac, which I put a lot of time into. And also there's the game Hand of Fate, which if you haven't played it, it's a super, super fun roguelike game for PC. There's Hand of Fate and Hand of Fate 2 that are based around a tarot deck. And that's how the world is made, by like unfolding the tarot cards, and that's how like the enemies you fight are determined, kind of. And I kind of got to thinking about when my dad read my cards, and then also read my then partner's cards, and her future was looking great, and my future was like swollen and dark. So I thought, well, wouldn't it be cool if I took kind of my burgeoning style and remade a deck of tarot cards? A lot of people talk about it. It's a big, ambitious thing to do because there are 78 cards in the deck. There's 56 of the standard suits, the swords, pentacles, cups, and wands, and then there are 22 of the major arcana that everybody's familiar with. It's like the lovers and the sun and moon and stuff like that. I wanted to redo it, but part of me was like, resentful. A lot of this is petty. A lot of this is resentful. Believe you me, I know. My ex was very talented as an artist, and probably still is. I don't know. But she would never be able to finish a piece all the way. She would like get halfway there and then give up because perfectionism would stop her from going forward. And so one of the things I was doing was I was just like, well, then I'll finish a piece and then I'll do that 77 more times and then I'll publish it because I'm not nothing and I'm tired of feeling like I'm nothing. I'm tired of being talked to like I'm an asshole, like I'm nothing. Right. And so started to make the tarot deck. I had no idea what I was doing. The outset, I drew like the first chunk of them, sketched them out, and they were just kind of like, take the card. What if it was a scary monster? Move on. And they were starting to come together, but I wanted there to be like a full mood for the whole thing, like a guiding principle. And then I'm at work and I get a call from the police and they're like, hey, is this Winslow to me? And I'm like, yes, reluctantly. And they're like, do you live at this address? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, you're going to want to come home. So I call out of work. They barely let me call out. I had to tell them, like, the cops told me to come home. And they're like, but do you have the hours? Whatever. I go home. Somebody had broken into my house and went to, like, they went to my bedroom and just destroyed it top to bottom. Like, smashed all of my stuff, took I have like a 1 liter bottle of India ink and just soaked all my clothes, soaked my bed. A lot of the originals for the tarot deck got destroyed. They just pulled everything down, bookshelves smashed everywhere, just my room. And bear in mind, I have, back when I lived there, that was when I was living with my mom. She has a shitload of Russian wolfhounds, which are big, intimidating looking dogs. So somebody just managed to get in and go specifically to my room, knowing that the dogs wouldn't hurt them, and completely destroyed the place. I was flooded with messages. I was like heartbroken, felt like I didn't have any friends. And then I got all these messages from just like, hey man, I think we know who did this. It wasn't her. It was just some local lunatic. But it kind of made me go like, man, her friends are messaging me saying, I think that she might have done this, which is just like this really, so I'm not the thing that I felt like I was, right? So it gives me this opportunity to restart on the tarot deck and just be like, all right, well, it's like, my wardrobe was destroyed. And so now I'm not wearing shirts that a 17-year-old would wear. And now I can just go out and buy better clothes and just like start over. Kind of helped, right?
Yeah.
And so I just kind of like sat down in the ruins. One of the things that got destroyed was this. I had a an octopus like preserved in formaldehyde, and they just smashed it. So there's this like rotting octopus on my carpet, and the whole room stank of formaldehyde. And the very next day I had to do a podcast, and like I'm just wearing this goofy fucking outfit because it's the only clothing I had that wasn't destroyed. And like everything around me stinks of formaldehyde. And so like the hosts were like kind of making fun of me for like wearing this weird outfit and all that. And I was just like, my house was destroyed last night. Like I lost everything. And like still to this day, my wheelchair upstairs, you can see the ink splotches all over it because of the break-in. Right. And so I just kind of sat there and I started to like kind of focus my mind on what world I wanted to make, what the storyline I wanted to be. And so I started to settle in on, it's like a dark fantasy world. I don't really care for fantasy, because I don't, if anything can happen, then like, why should I give a shit? If you can be like, but he had a potion, like this doesn't really do anything for me. So like, a fantasy world that still maintained like the futility and suffocating tone of like The Road by Cormac McCarthy, right? Some of the images and themes I wanted to incorporate were like betrayal, not having a future, because I thought I had a future with this person and now I don't. Infertility, and black smoke by way of the Great American Dust Bowl, which was just a subject that I've been interested in, read a lot about. My dad was really interested in it for a while. So I combined all of those to make a world set during the last days of human extinction, of like kind of everything extinction, where the gods betrayed humanity and cursed them with total infertility. And so it's the last days of panicked human race realizing that like the jig is up. It's like Children of Men type of thing. And what happens when you realize that you have no future? How do you move forward? Right. So I work on that for a while. I piece it together. It's clumsy, I never went to art school and never really learned practical stuff on that. And I halfway through moved to Chicago. I graduate college. I moved to Chicago to pursue stand-up comedy. And I finished the first half of the tarot deck while working at Marriott on the call center. And then I finished the second half just on the streets in Chicago, where I'm just like drawing pictures and selling them. On the side of the road at the Blue Line stop on Damon, actually, is where I posted up a lot of the time. And eventually I finish it. I have 78 cards. I wrote a short story for every card. I put it together. It's called The Tarot Restless, because I would spend so much time restlessly like rocking back and forth, not sure what I wanted to do with my life. So I called it The Tarot Restless. And it comes with a book called Restless Meditations, which is based on the title of Meditations. And I put it all together and I put it on Kickstarter. I had a goal of $1,000 and I raised, I think, $14,700, which like knocked me on my ass. When I look at that original Kickstarter, it looks like shit. Like it looks so bad. Like I cannot remember who I had do the audio for it, but it's just like this grainy cell phone video showing off these like really goofy looking cards, because they weren't very good. The first version is really clumsy. I don't have the first. It must be upstairs somewhere. The first version was this little box, and the cover is a hand with the missing ring finger, which had been cut off. And then when you open the box, the missing finger is inside the box. And then the book was separate. And I distilled it like that. So I made it all. And then I sold out. I made 300 copies, and I sold out of those pretty quick. Then I made the second edition, which is a lot more advanced. I made, I think, 2,000 copies of the second edition, maybe? I don't remember. Maybe it was 500. I don't know. I think it might have been 2000 actually. No, it had to have been 500 because then the big one was the 2000. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Yeah. So I made another 500. Didn't change much but the box. Then I made the third edition, and I had my friend Chris Santiago make the promotional video for it. It's sick. He's so fucking good, dude. I pulled him out of retirement to make the next video that I did. So he's dope. So I fucking asked the band Pharmakia to use one of their songs, and they very graciously let me use it. So I have this like sick ass black metal song on the original Kickstarter. I don't know if you ever saw that.
Yeah, I think I remember pulling up the video for it, and I think like when we first met you, I'm looking up that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Because the other thing that's kind of crucial to this story is that I after I got all the money from the Kickstarter, I was walking distance between my job and a Blick art store, and I had just finished a big project that was largely black and white. That's a big thing about the tarot, is that like the cards are almost exclusively black and white with a little dot of color here and there, because I wanted the world to look sparse. Every other tarot deck I've ever seen was like covered in gold and glitter and pearlescence and foils, and made it super, super over the top pretty, and very full of life. And this is a world about death. This is a world about emptiness and absence. And so it is, it's really hard to draw within that world where you have to select one color. And so I finished this whole kind of black and white world, and I went to the Blick, and I'm like, yo, I have all this money. Show me some stuff that I can do with the most color possible. Like, take the chains off. And they gave me some Yupo paper, which is like it's like a sheet of paper, but it's like an infinitely smooth plastic that does not absorb anything. And then alcohol ink, and then just rubbing alcohol, and then like cans of compressed air. And if you put the ink on the paper, and then you put like a bit of black in it, and you put a little, like a drop of yellow in it, and it'll kind of like mix, and like you've seen like the paint mixing videos, where like the pigments start to break apart in there, because all of the different colors of ink have, like on a microscopic scale, different chunks of different types of powders in there. So when you use the white pigment, it's like really clumpy, and like it like platelets forming in it. But then you use the gold, and like you can see like these pools of glitter in there. And then you drop in a bit of rubbing alcohol, and it opens it up. And then if you just keep moving it around with a can of compressed air, you can move all of this until you fill the sheet with color, with layers and layers of color. And I got lost in it, dude. I loved it. I spent like a whole winter just like buying hundreds of dollars of Yupo paper and ink, and then I would just be cooped up in my bedroom, just moving the ink around on the paper, using so much rubbing alcohol that like it like shredded my throat, because I was just breathing in alcohol the whole time. But they became these paintings that like really meant a lot to me, because they are completely interpretive. They are completely abstract. There are no figures in them at all. But I started posting them. Nobody really cared. So I just was like, oh, this is just a really cool thing that I like. And I just put it on the back burner for a while. Eventually I sold out of the first and second edition, and I needed to make the third. Between then and now, and the next, I had gone through a whole bunch of other nightmares. Like I had a stalker for a while, and like there's all these other like humiliating things and victories and high points and low points. So I just kind of took a look at the last couple years of my life, and I made 10 more cards, like an oracle deck, to fit into the game. Then I was like, or fit into the tarot. But then I thought, well, I wanted more. Like, I'm still a step away. I was at 88 cards. Well, there's 12 zodiac signs, so I also did the zodiac. So the third edition was going to have it's going to have a ton of new cards, because to replace some old ones. It was 100 cards. And I, rewrote the book and everything. And that's when Chris Santiago made the video for me. and it was dope as shit. And I had a goal of 8,000 to get the decks done, and I got like 53 grand. Huge sales, and that was amazing. And it also made it so I could like more or less not quit my job, but not give a shit about my job, because I had money for this. And I was like, you guys can fire me, I'll be fine. I stayed with them for a while because they forgot that I worked there, and they just kept writing me checks. That's happened like 3 times in my life now. That's one of the perks of being a wallflower. You are very forgettable, you know? Yeah. So I reprinted it. They shipped it to me on a pallet, and I started shipping those out. And then I sold out of 2,000 copies of that. It's available all over the world. And then without another Kickstarter, I just ordered 2,000 more. So now, technically, this is the 3rd edition, but it's the 4th printing of the Terra Restless. And you can see here, I have it. Yeah, I have my show copy for it. It's a little banged up, but the original, I added the finger to the cover because too many people looked at the missing finger and said that it looks like the Shocker, and I was so fucking sick of that joke that I just added the finger. It's still cut off, but you can see that there's a separation, right? But it's basically the ring finger has been cut off because I was kind of about the end of a promise, the end of a future, and marriage and life and love and all that. But the 1st and 2nd edition had a completely plain white background. But then I don't know. You can Can you see that?
Yeah, it's glistening.
Yeah. So there's a clear gloss on top of the box that is this like really complicated magical spell that I designed for it, so that when you hold the thing and like when it's wrapped up, you can't see it. When you take it out and hold it in the light, you can see that there's this extra sigil stuck onto the box.
Yeah, which is Silent Hill 3 save point is hidden in every copy.
Yes, yeah, very much. It is a very kind of inspired by that for sure. And then the back has very delicately the palm of the hand in the back there. The story of the game is back here. It says, humanity has been cursed. The great kingdoms have fallen. The sun is setting on the final days of the universe. The dregs of the human race flee across a warped and broken continent as a storm of exterminating smoke swallows the globe. Angels, demons, and other horrors from across the collapsing countercosmos give chase. Few survive. Those that do come to a blasted alien plane at the far end of the world. There, with certain death both before and behind, they confront a pantheon of traitor gods in the last moments of the universe. It includes everything you need. And let's open it up. So this is all the tarot deck. We have yet to get to the game, but they're tied together. So when you open it up, because it is set during an infertility apocalypse, inside the box is a spiral of sperm cells going into a black hole. Inside, you have the Restless Meditations book, which is stamped in silver. And there's a short story for every card and a bunch of extra illustrations in there too. And then inside of the box, you have the 2 wedding rings, because the deck is split into 2. So you have a wedding ring, a man's wedding ring, and a woman's wedding ring in the bottom of the box in there. And then you have the deck itself, which is gleaming, trimmed in silver, and the back is a completely different illustration of the sperms going into a black hole. Because like a lot of this is just like every other tarot deck I've ever seen has been very pretty, and I wanted to make something that was decidedly not, and weird and morbid and dark and
and also that period of crowdfunding too. I feel like that was very much in vogue. Like I saw a lot of like very polished, like graphic designer made cards being crowdfunded on there in the early days. And so, you definitely stood out. I'm not surprised that, even if in hindsight, you might think it looks a little unprofessional or unpolished, that's probably part of why it stood out compared to all these other ones. Yeah.
And like, what's funny is that coming into this, I did not know a single thing about how to get things manufactured. And so like, I sent out all of these different like please help me. You're an indie tarot deck developer, like, or designer. Like, show me, can I just know what company did you use? And like, literally every single one either ignored the email, or they were just like, hi, we don't share this information with anyone, fuck off. Or they're like, we use a company. And it's like, okay. So it was really, really hard. And I had to just figure it out from base principles, basically. Where the fuck am I supposed to go? I eventually did. And then from then on, if anybody ever wants to know how I make anything, I'm just like, here's the people I use. Here's my invoice. Here's how you know if you're going to get screwed over. If you want to add your shit to my order, please like hop on the order. You know, I am here to help as much as I can. So we're not going to go through all the cards because we don't have that much time, but you can kind of see it's still in that like kind of reduced color, black and white, with a little bit of color in their style. Everything is done with like the hatch marks and all that. And lots of dark, lots of light. And yeah, it's like a morbid fantasy world in the last days of the apocalypse, but the apocalypse is also kind of apocalypse literally means the revealing of secrets, apocalypsis. And so it's themes of learning and revelation, but also of heartache and loss, and just like not knowing what to do when your future is kind of rug pulled out from under you, right? And yeah, the drawings themselves are clumsy. They're weird. They don't look 100% right. A lot of this was just like me figuring out how to use these pens, and I actually like that. I would rather see people who don't know how to make art trying to make art rather than seeing the exact same comic book style shit over and over again, that like everything looks so pretty and clean and pristine, right?
Oh yeah.
So yeah, we have Predation is one of the oracle cards. It's a guy getting his dick pecked off by birds. I remember doing that one in the back of an open mic because I drew a lot of these while either at work or waiting to go up at an open mic. I was just sitting in the back. This is why people didn't talk to me in Chicago, because I would just be sitting at the back, like just picking away at these cards, like super fucking focused. But yeah, it's very inspired by like Dark Souls and Silent Hill and Junji Ito. Really like high morbid gothic weird shit. My Taurus is pretty cool because it's this like enormous bull with all these gravestones jutting out of his back, but he has like these spider legs and there's this white light pouring out of him. My Knight of Wands is a fun one because it's kind of like a reverse pitcher plant with a armless man kind of trapped in it, surrounded by these smoking baubles, and his head is wrapped in a headdress. But unlike every other tarot deck, I don't just have like beautiful naked women as like symbols of fertility or whatever. A ton of the people in this game are hideously deformed. And there's way more dick than there are tits, because I was so tired of like seeing the same, like it's like a hot chick with a sword. It's like a topless chick with a wand. It's like, okay, dude.
Sacred feminine, two things I'm not.
Yeah, exactly. You know, so this is my buddy Dewan Lamont Hayes, a staggeringly beautiful Omaha man. He's the card Humiliation, and I used him for that. Lots of, there's even more dick. And then this is Evelyn Troutman, Chicago comedian. She is for a card called Sublimation. And also Caitlin DeTuro is in there too. There's a lot of people in here. This is one of the more effective cards, I think, because this is called the Degenerate. It is basically one of the traitor gods who is this creature of pure, it's like elemental malevolence. Because he is kind of how do I put it? He is predation, manifest. He is this very tall, lanky figure, his head in his hands, but when he's breathing out, there's like this twisted bouquet of like psychic penises that are coming out of his mouth. It's based on The Guitarist by Picasso, but it's also based on the painting that Jeff Whitehead did for his album Massive Conspiracy Against All Life, which is a really, really influential album for me.
Yeah, the composition definitely matches that with the arc. It is neat seeing these actual physical cards, since I've only ever seen the digital version of it, since I haven't gotten to see it in person. So no, it's neat.
And here's the Knight of Stars, who is a knight riding a gigantic rat. Lots of themes of that. This is Brandon Cordes, an Omaha comic, who is the Hanged Man, which is a guy getting hanged by his own dick. All of these, the descriptions sound childish, but they are generally conveyed in a very serious way.
And this is tarot. It's all flowers and cups and such. Like, it isn't subtle to begin with.
It's exactly that. And one of my favorite ones is the Three of Swords, which is just this. How can I get this in here? It's this swordsman, but he has an extra two hands coming out from underneath whatever you call that top cloth that soldiers would wear.
Kind of like a little set of crab arms, like how they have the big pincers and the little guys underneath.
And they're holding his guts in place, because a lot of these, a lot of the symbolism, or the part of the story for this, is that humanity cursed with infertility. It's like 30 years of people fighting each other over like blame, because they're just like, unchaste women did this. No, the gays did this. No, this rival religious sect did this. All of these things are everybody's blaming each other. There's these huge like pogroms and extermination wars. But I'm not interested in the wars. I don't care about the generals and the battles, because the storyline is primarily set during what's called the conjugation, which is all of the gods have cursed humanity, and then something unknown to everybody, even the gods, forces all of the other dimensions of heaven and hell, all of the other, because there's many, many heavens and many, many hells, all of them are starting to merge together. And so now this depopulated world is haunted with the remnants of 10,000 heavens and 10,000 hells. And so you see like these like rotted out angels that are stalking the mortal plane, trying to collect the ears of rival angels from another god's hell, as they are like also doing their best to exterminate the rest of the human race. Everybody's terrified, even the gods, because there are these outer gods, these deep gods beyond the veil, beyond the cavity, which is the thing that holds the universe together, that have just kind of ushered the end of all things as part of a cycle. And that is the wand, the cup, the star, the sword. That, like, all of those things together, it's like the chaos gods kind of thing.
Works within the format. I like that.
Right. And so like there's a meta storyline to that, but as all of this is happening, there's a lot of these like I don't spell out a whole lot of the lore, because there's no time to know what's going on. Like, imagine you're in a city and you're seeing suddenly there's like a bombing campaign happening. You don't stop and write down like a BioShock style journal about like, and then the bomb hit my house and I was killed, and I knew that bomb was from this country that did this for this. You don't know. And so there's these shattered, the dregs of the human race. Are they like, everybody's infertile. There's demons everywhere. They're fucking terrified. There's been years of famine. There are no like macho heroes. And then they see on the far horizon, there's no stars, because there is a wall of black smoke that is slowly walking across the world. And it started with like these spasms, like these miasmas that would take over a town. And if you breathed it in, you would become what's called extinguished, where basically you're not a zombie, but it's kind of like you get Alzheimer's, where you're still moving around, but there's like, you can't really communicate with these people. But if you were just like barely touched by the smoke, it's like you become functionally like black-pilled, and you become a servant to the smoke, because the smoke is it's not specifically suicidal depression, but it is like futility and nihilism that is slowly marching forward. And so you have to run from that. But at the perimeter of it, there are the smoke touched, which are like these men that have been tainted by the smoke that are now just like, they're accelerationists. They're trying to accelerate the end of the world. And so there's not a whole lot of the smoke touch don't show up in the tarot deck, but they do show up in the game. But a lot of different types of things where like the smoke touched, they'll have like half of their skull is missing, or like there's one of them where like his entire upper half is gone, and so he's just like a dick and balls with legs, which is like funny to say, but it is like horrifying to imagine just like a gored penis running at you. And so there's all of these different like symbols like kind of crisscrossing as this storyline happens. I don't have it in this deck in particular, but there's also like stories of romance. Like the Knight of Cups is this, it's a very colorful card. Can I get it in here?
Oh, very green.
Yeah. It's kind of like an earthworm Jim, because it's a guy, who's he's hideously burned. His face it looks like a good chunk of his skull is missing. It looks like he's got a bag over his head, but he doesn't. And he's with this like wyvern thing. It's like a wingless dragon. I am careful to not include very obvious fantasy things because I think that's kind of boring. So there's no dragons per se. But he's kind of looking up to the right, and he sees a cup floating in the air. And his whole story is that like he wears his wedding ring around on a chain around his neck and around his neck in case he loses his hand in battle. He doesn't want to lose the ring. And there's the story that accompanies his card is talking about the great love of his life, and the other men that are sitting around this campfire, like a man like you with no facial features, completely burned to a crisp. You have love too. And he's like, well, she doesn't really care about looks. She's 800 years older than me. I just thought that it's just like, there's these sweet stories, but they're conveyed in a very dark and weird way. This is a fun one. The Queen of Stars. Again, you're going to have to just look at these online to make this make more sense. It is a woman, it's a fully nude woman, but she looks pretty fucked up. Her hair is like this sweeping cape of black out of which wolves are coming out. She's got this like kind of lumpy looking crown and these like concentric rings of red coming out of her. She has 4 tits, a full bush, and she is giving birth to the pentacle. In this case, it is an anacle because it has it's the 7. It's not N is 9, so it's a septicle. I don't know, whatever. So she's given birth to this big, sticky, grimy star, and she's just kind of looking at you. And I remember drawing this one because my boss at Marriott walked by and just went, "Huh, cool drawing." This is dear sweet friend Thorn. This is them in their bed with a necklace of wedding rings and a necklace of fingers because Thorn is the Contemptress, a shapeshifter that takes the form of other spouses to like kill men in their sleep and take their wedding rings. And it's just on and on. I mean, one of the recurring themes of this is that, hey, you ever notice that a sperm kind of looks like a noose? And so I have a guy, like this is one of the ones where it's like, yeah, this is not the tarot deck that you're going to see at Urban Outfitters. It's a hanged man with 2 kind of testicle stars around his neck. He's the 2 of stars. There's all of these empty nooses around him, and out of his dick comes this black ejaculate that turns into a whole bunch of other ghostly balloons that also kind of resemble the nooses around his neck. Because a lot of this is about masculine violence and sex violence and the ways that to create a child is kind of a violent act, and to thrust life into a dying world is kind of a violent thing. The 7 of Stars are these guys riding these like armored phalluses into battle. All of this sounds really obnoxious if you're trying to picture it through a modern artistic lens, because it's a lot more subtle than it looks, or than it sounds.
Yeah, nobody's going to airbrush this on the side of a van like you might be imagining.
Yeah, it's not like that. It's all deeply ugly. And yeah, this is one of my favorite ones. It's called Deconsecration. It's one of my favorite terms. My last art show before leaving Omaha was called Deconsecration. No, what was it? It might have been Deconsecration. I think so. Yeah, because I did Elegant, The New Flesh, Deconsecration, and then I did one last one. What the fuck was it called? Whatever. Yeah, I did a bunch of art shows in Chicago, or in Omaha. But this is me covered in every scarf that I own, holding up a little incense burner, and in the background there is this enormous bell. And in the story, the gods curse humanity with infertility by using a bell, because bells are holy and the sound of a bell is holy, and it can cast a spell into you. That's a little bit of Dark Souls, but it's also just a little bit of Catholicism. So the symbols of bells and towers and removing of curses is like a pretty consistent thing throughout the thing. So that's the tarot deck. There's a lot more to it. If anybody wants it and can't afford it, just fucking message me and I'll send you the digital files and you can read the book and you can see the whole shebang. I spent a few years working on this, and also at the time I'm touring as a stand-up comedian. The pandemic is happening and I spend all of my money putting food in the food bank and making sure people have like bail money and shit. And then I go on a couple more tours. I start doing the Oddities and Curiosities Expo with Alex, doing a ton of stuff with that. And a little bit, maybe 6 years ago, Edmund McMillan, one of the guys behind The Binding of Isaac, announces a card game called Four Souls. And I'm like, this is sick. I love The Binding of Isaac. Let's play this. Let's figure it out. I start to play it. I backed the Kickstarter. It's a bucket of fun. Highly recommend it. And I really liked it. But as I would play it, I would go, it's fun. But every time I would play, people would be like, it's competitive. You're fighting monsters to try to get souls, to try to get items, to try to win the game, right? You're fighting against other players. And I remember playing it and having people go like, man, if my item bounced off of your item and your item bounced off of my item, we could be so much more powerful if we work together, but the rules say that we can't. And so I was like, well, what if I made a game that was kind of in the same style, but bigger and cooperative, and make everything way, way, way more hostile, so that you have to work together. And so I started like penning some ideas. I spoke with a young woman, India Weston, about making it into a video game. Started there, put a pin in that. And I started putting together the ideas for what would become the Restless. I sat down and I figured out, I wrote down a couple hundred different ideas for monsters. I wrote down a bunch of really long names for traitor gods. I wrote down 30 or so character ideas. All of the characters, instead of being like a named individual from a place, it's just like the judge, the crook, the rag. It's just like entities, like not entities, but abstractions
titles,
of a person. Yeah, titles, I guess.
Very Dark Souls boss naming.
Yes, literally that. Yeah. Or Dark Souls characters where you're like the cleric or the deprived or whatever. And so I start writing it all down. I start pinning it, putting it all together. The game, it's a massive learning process. If you want to know way, way, way more about the process and like the edits that took to make the game, I can show you this DM me anywhere, and I will send you the link to the concept art book and like the making of, where I go into all the details of like what I did include and what I didn't include. The game was originally way longer. And you kind of lose something with the length of the game. But in the end, it's a 4-player cooperative game set during the last days of human extinction. You have Everybody gets a character and a starting item, and you have a certain amount of health that you can that you have, and it's very hard to restore it. And so you have 3 rest cards, and when you play them, you you get a chance to like cook food and restore some health, and like open up treasure chests that you can't because can't do when you're on the run, because the entire game is you are fleeing from the last of the smoke. You are running to the end of the world where you will fight and kill one of the gods that betrayed your species. It is a game about extinction. You don't win. Everyone dies in the end. But if you kill the god, then you merge with it, and then the next time you play, you can unlock basically the next version of the god. So I wrote down hundreds of different items and wrote some lore, wrote some of this, wrote some of that, wrote some characters, wrote some gods and encounters. There are 50 different realms. The game is split into 5 realms. Each one has one of 10 different choices that you can do. All of the rest cards are very unique, and they all have a little bit of lore, a little bit of what's going on in the world as it happens. There's a lot more to it. If you've listened to the pod, you've heard a bit about how all of this was made. But what I have right here is the final test print, not technically the final version, because there's one piece that's missing, of the Restless. And there it
is.
It's, dear listener, it's fucking huge. It is like 8 pounds. 862 cards, I believe, is the final number. The cover is the white handprint that would have been left behind after the fingerless, or the hand with the missing finger from the tarot deck were to touch something. Yeah, so it is a kind of an homage back to that, because these are 2 companion pieces. If you have the tarot deck actually integrates with the Restless as an expansion, right? So important. The background is made of those paintings that nobody else liked. The paintings look really cool on this because it's the really fun, like, mottled black and red, very evocative color here of like smoke and blood. And it has all of the art on the back here, lots of different cards. It's way more colorful, way more professional looking, I think, than the tarot deck. You have a whole bunch of variety of things here, but I'll read you the back here. The gods have betrayed humanity. All of the nations of the world have crumbled. A storm of black smoke swallows the globe. These are the final days of the universe. Gather your party of red-handed delinquents, diseased lunatics, haunted vagrants, and raving heretics, and press across a disintegrating continent, swarming with horrors from every realm of heaven, hell, and beyond. At the far end of the world, you will confront the traitor pantheon that condemned your species to the grave. Seek revenge or die in the swollen darkness. The end is in your hands. And it's The Restless is a cooperative survival game for 1 to 4 players. Each set contains 20 playable characters, 400 plus items, 50 unique realms, 11 traitor gods, 180 encounters, 200 counter coins, a rulebook, and more. Every part of this game was drawn or painted by hand. The set includes the Hierophanies of the Abyss expansion, which adds 101 blank cards to expand and customize your playthrough. It has all the details here, and my favorite little bit in the legal text here, it says, copyright 2025 Winslow Domain, all rights reserved, winslodomain.com, and then in fine print at the very bottom it says, all that remained was the stench of iron and the roar of the wind, within the legal text above. And that is the first sentence of the last story of the tarot deck. So, to put it briefly, I wrap it all up. Just listen to the last year of podcasts to listen to me complaining about how this game was made. Put it on Kickstarter. It goes fairly well. The world is in a much worse an economic place right now, so it didn't do the numbers quite that I had hoped, but I had some good help. And it still sold 85,000 copies, and then $3,000 more, or $85,000, Jesus. Then 3,000 more after that, and then a bunch of on my website as well. So I ordered 3,000 copies, and the rest I already complained about at the start. So You open it up, and there's some text inside. And, you know, I figure this is already an indulgent episode. I might as well just read people what the game is about, if that's cool with you.
Totally, yeah.
Okay, so inside the box and then underneath the tray inside it's the setting for the story. So you don't have to know the tarot deck at all to like place yourself in this world. It does help because there's a lot of references throughout the whole thing. I consider these to be companion pieces that are like fully enmeshed in each other. But here is how it goes. A storm of smoke approaches from the west. It is as black as pitch, as wide as the horizon, and as high as the sky can avail. The storm is slow, but it moves without cease. It drives fauna from the forests, desolates towns, and swallows seas, leaving the soot-stained and blinded geography in the cacophonous stillness of endless night. Those who could flee, fled, and those who could not were consumed by its annihilating rapture. By breathing in the smoke, they became the extinguished, the unfortunate remnants of the human race whose captivity within the choking miasma reduced them to near catatonia. Not truly dead, not truly alive, they stumble aimlessly in the suffocating dark, their mutterings indecipherable and their bodies numb to the world. Still, pain dwells within that wretched lot, and while their minds are clean of thoughts, a circuitous misery remains within them, a wordless mantra whose sole expression is that of nameless primeval yearning. It is from this fate that the refugees have taken flight. They have been traveling for many months. They slept odd hours when they could, one of them staying awake to keep watch for pursuers, beasts, men, and otherwise, and to track the progress of the smoke. Flagging too far north or south would put them at risk of being caught by the storm, so they cut a straight path eastward, diverging from the known trails and into profane lands. They camped in sunken forests, caves, and sand-swept villages in the crackled, thunderstruck barrens. They slept in desolated townships, in fishing hamlets, mining towns, trading posts, and odd cabins. Often, they had no choice but to brave the elements with what grit they could muster. It was then that they walked in the predatory hours after the sunset, when their lanterns were lit and their hearts were tight in their chests. Let me get these. Here we go. In those fraught hours, they had fought or fled from all manner of horrific creatures. Some were sensible, wayward men, common beasts, known things with mouths and legs, flesh to pierce and lives to end. Others were less sensible, incorporeal, revenant entities, spectral and howling, trapped in the third plane of existence that exists between life and death. More terrible still, they had encountered blurred and sundered things, entities quick in shape, and contradictory in ways that defied language. These were things beyond form, categorizable only into an incomprehensible fourth plane, beyond life, death, and even that which lies between. At their most extreme, these creatures were more phenomena than living beings. Some were not even identifiable as a they, but as an abstract and bodiless consciousness, formless and malevolent. As such, they presented in many ways. Some were semi-permeable, places of unrest, into which one could wander and, in a daze, become lost. Some were visible only in certain lights or by certain individuals. Some created hidden vibrational fields, where one would feel a thrumming cadence in their blood, as the very material of their bodies dissolved before their eyes. Others were pernicious and insatiable tempters, captors, and tormentors. Some took the form of scintillating mists hanging in the air, soft voices beckoning the wanderers, offering them peace from their sorrows, only to cut them down, destroying them so utterly there would be naught left to bury. Of all these things, the most terrifying were the creatures so fundamentally incorrect that they could not be written into memory. They were known only in their immediate presence. Simply blinking would erase the image from the mind. And when the eyes opened again, the full breadth of their horror was experienced anew. Every confrontation felt as if it was the very first. And those who had been pursued by these dissonant beings felt as though their lives were plagued by wild spasms of lunatic terror, inexplicable and unavoidable. Their forms were indistinct. There were upright shadows of men, murky figures that hung in the sky, with vague bodies, whose centers were blacker than the eyes could perceive, and whose outermost umbra was oily and vanishing fast. They moved as the wind moves, or remained utterly still, watching with a seething silence. The refugees attempted every manner of manic violence to repel them, but it yielded meager results. As the encounters persisted, the refugees would find themselves gasping and sobbing, terrified to the point of nausea. When the unknowable things were gone, only the ramifications of panic remained. All the words spoken and deeds done in their presence seemed misremembered, faded, and impossible, as if all had awoken from a shared night. So that's the setting, and it's kind of inspired, by a variety of things, but it is inspired by, it's inspired by being in shitty relationships that are like so extreme and intense that like you remember the panic attack, but you don't remember what the fuck caused it. And so you just look back over your life and you're like, man, it seems like every week or so, I have this really terrifying thing that happens and I don't know why. And then you're like, oh, it was this person torturing me. It was this person being a fucking nightmare to me. And I can't remember it because it's so intense. Because there's so many things from my life that I can't remember because they were too intense, So that's the setting. It's inspired by, a whole variety of different things. But inside, let's see if I can do this without spilling everything everywhere. I paid extra to have the, you can kind of see it. There's a deboss on the tray that just says, "The end is in your hands." You can kind of see
the very
letter.
Cool.
Yeah. Now, obviously, we're not going to go through this whole goddamn thing, but you have your rule book in here. Explains how it all works. It's a really truly a very straightforward game. It has about the creator here. I'm an artist living in Chicago. I make games and design merchandise for myself and others, and perform stand-up comedy and co-host a podcast called I'm From the Internet. Yeah. So there's year and year. I have you in the thanks, of course, as well.
Yeah.
And you're in the game, of course. You are.
Yeah, I'm the card, the Thesperosian rat catcher.
Yeah. You are the Thesperosian rat catcher.
Yeah.
And you're a fun little encounter in there. So I did like years of playtesting as I drew everything by hand. So the entire game is illustrated with pen and ink. And we have, let me see here. We have some of the characters here. The Hounded, who's like a guy who has run out of town, and you don't know what he did to get him like exiled, but you have to work with him because it's like, if you're in a life or death situation and Kevin Spacey's going to save your life, you're probably going to let Kevin Spacey save your life. And the judge and the congregant.
That should be the premise of a board game, like Scruples, but just on what you would work with Kevin Spacey on to save your life.
Yeah.
Like, where is your line? Where is your Kevin Spacey line? Where is the point where you would not accept help from him?
Yeah. There's some really good ones in here. There's the Rag, who has like basically no health at all. But every time they're
very Beksinski, and I can see your influence.
Yeah,
on that
very
one.
Beksinski. Like really, like lots of ribs and fingers and stuff. There's the Harrow, who is just a figure black as night with these little half moon eyes and these hands reaching out of the dark.
It is neat to see you play with the difference in formatting, because the tarot are all very vertical cards,
Yes.
whereas this one are more. It seems like they're laid out more like a traditional playing card. So it's like the box on top with the art, and then below is the text and everything.
And you can kind of see that laid bare because it has the Hierophanies of the Abyss. Every deck in the game has a whole bunch of blanks, so you can make your own stuff. And I also really liked. There's a card called the Hideous, and it's just this man hiding his face, and he's covered in these like rotting buboes all over his head. And his whole thing is that like humans are so scared of him that they all have -1 defense, which is very, very helpful actually. And yeah, so we have like all the characters have different traits and different abilities and different amounts of health and things like that. So you want to have a diverse party because every a ton of the items in the game have different like trait enhancements. So everybody can use every item, but I want to make sure that you get an opportunity that, like, if you give the guy who's really good at ranged weapons a ranged weapon, he does something special with it. Because the game isn't so much a deck builder. You get some choice, but it's kind of like you have to work with what you have as you go along.
Like a resource management thing where it's like you can't just do it on your own. You have to work together.
Yeah, because the world is so hostile. But there's caveats to that this is what I think takes the game to the next level. The original cover was going to be something like this with a bloody handprint surrounded by like coils of black. But I decided to go with the white. And these are the starter items, and you can kind of see some of them are spells. This is like a spectral sword, a casting glove that casts spells. Like they're all just like simple bows and a few like healing items and stuff like that. There's a lot of dog meat in the game where you have to like eat dogs. Because it's part of the lore for me personally. Not eating the dogs, but dogs dying, I guess.
Yeah, I get that.
And also, it is kind of like a middle finger to the to the Reddit. Like, does the dog die in the movie? It's like people die in the movie, like.
Yeah. If I ever make a game, I want to put a dog in it just to have the character refuse to pet it. Be like, no, it's a service dog. It's working. Leave it alone.
Go away. So one of the cool things about the game is that like I take, art is very meaningful to me. It's like, it's a business, but it's also like, it's a very deeply meaningful thing. And so like, part of the tarot deck, and this game, part of like the theming of it, is that sentimentality is a decentralized kind of holiness, where you can go to the pawn shop and see a whole array of wedding rings, and they're all just rings to you. But if you go to the pawn shop and see your wedding ring, that you have to get that one because that's your fucking wedding ring. Like it's meaningful to you. When I went to Chernobyl, I came back with a bolt that fell out of reactor 4. That's meaningful to me because it's like it was my whole childhood playing Stalker and reading about Chernobyl and like all of these different things, and like it's like very plugged into my life. And so like it's what makes a relic is everybody collectively saying this thing is holy, right? And so to wit, when I have all the status effects in the game, and they are white chrism. White chrism, golden veil, crimson membrane, which is like a placenta, and then there's one called black ash. And in order to make the pigment for the little Enso symbol of the black ash, I actually there's a church that burned down near me, and when churches are built, they're consecrated, and everything on the land is holy. So I pulled some of the burnt out wood from it, and I scraped the char off of it, and I made it into a pigment to make the black ash symbol, so that it is like it's using consecrated ashes from a burned down church to make this thing, right?
But it's windfall, so God can't get mad at you.
Exactly.
Smart.
It's God wouldn't want me to waste it. And you also get a little special extra status effect that doesn't do anything that you have to decide how it works in the game. And yeah, so we have like where did I put that bag? Yeah. Like this ongoing thing of like creating a overwhelmingly hostile world and helping the characters navigate it. And I'll just take out a chunk here. The rewards in the game are generally like a little bit of loot or some health or something like that, or a reroll counter, which you can, when you're resting, you can eat those for food, and it will heal you a little bit. Then we have hundreds of loot cards, which are these blue loots with a little bag on the back. And I mean, where do we even start? So we have like a spell that has like a painted background. Unknown hawk, which is just like a hawk of meat. A few of those. If they have a colorful background, it's a spell, right? Then there's some blank ones in here too. Some shields that have some armor, masks. But generally speaking, the loots are all like like kind of like lighter usable items that you kind of use once and get rid of, or it's food or something like that. And they're not as like permanent as the items in the treasure deck. But you also have in the loot deck all of the cards that just say you find nothing, and you can re-roll that to like get another chance at a loot card. But there are 33 nothing cards in the game, and each one has a paragraph telling you in greater detail the story of how the world came to be and why it's cursed and what's going on. If you haven't read the tarot deck book, you can just read this, and it's basically it's a condensed version of the information. And it's just like a fun way of telling the story, kind of in a scattershot way, kind of a Dark Souls way of just like giving people a little bit at a time. And again, so every card in here is painted by hand. I want to find, it would take forever. And everything has flavor text, which is really fun. And so there's one card in here that kind of harkens back to what we were talking about earlier, because it's just a food card called Heap of Vegetables. And the flavor text is a quote from, it's a guy whose name, his title is just a gastrophist, which is like a gastrophysicist, I guess. And it's just him saying, heap is the best kind of eat, which is very true to me personally. Everything, yeah, so like I'm trying to find it here, but it's not showing up. It's all drawn by hand, so like even if you're not like a big gamer, you are getting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of drawings, everything done by hand, right? Then we get into the treasure cards, and this is where the game really takes off, because the treasure cards are the most valuable items in the game. A lot of them are permanent. Some really strong shields, really strong weapons in here. You really want to fight hard if the reward is a treasure, right? But as you can see, they have that gold border, but when you fan out all these treasure cards, you're going to see a whole bunch of black and red ones in there, and those are sins. The sin is this really wicked permanent debuff that fucks up your character, it's almost permanent. There's a couple ways to remove it. But if you ever see a sin for any reason, you have to take that. You don't get a treasure. So everybody works together to fight this big scary monster because it drops a treasure. And then at the end it says, you draw it, and it's a sin that sticks to you, makes your character weaker, and you don't get the treasure. So it's another layer of challenge, but it also means that the rest of the party will look at you a little differently, because now you are slowly becoming the weakest link. And are they going to help you in your time of need? Because all of the sins are designed to make you feel worse about yourself. So you have the sin of drifted mind, and it's basically you have to, anytime you would gain the benefit of a trait interaction, you have to roll to see if it affects you. And the little flavor text just says, does anything come naturally to you? There's despised star sign, which makes all of the other creatures you fight, if they're from another dimension, it makes them even stronger. And the flavor text is, better to have died in the womb than be birthed under such a rotten constellation. So all of the sins are really like, your frailty jeopardizes the lives of those around you. Negative mind field. All characters have -1 max health. If you truly cared for them, you would not hurt them with your presence. So it's just like this wicked way of making you feel worse and worse and worse as you play. Yeah, the treasures are a good chunk of fun.
I remember you drawing all the pictures for them, like how long it would take you to go through all the items and the treasures and everything.
Yeah, and I recorded a ton of the video for it. So there's a little snippet in the Kickstarter video that is, it's just me like yelling at you for how long it took me to make the game, while like literally 500 or 600 hours of me drawing is sped up playing in the background of like hundreds of drawings happening at once. And so, yeah, whenever somebody is complaining about like their AI thing didn't work out, I'm just like, here's me drawing all of this. So those are the treasures, and they're a little bit snug in here. Come on now. All right, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do this, and close enough. There are like 180 some odd encounters. The game is a series of encounters cast over 5 realms. And they're all from different, there's different types. There's humans, beasts, interplanar, and miasma, or phenomena rather. And they all have different like strengths and weaknesses, different drops and stuff like that. So we have like the Sarpanian lunatic, who is this like triangle man with this big grinning face. And you can see his drops, and everybody's got a little bit of flavor to them as well. The Sapsun Trader is a favorite of mine because he's fully in the shadows, and he's a little merchant that you can talk to, and his flavor text just says, "What do you seek? I have everything but candles." The Saint of Bells is this like skeletal saint thing with this drape of skin that each one is like pierced through with bells. They're all like really expressive and weird because it's fun that I don't know what I'm doing. It's fun that I don't have like the consistent artistic style that you get when you go to art school and you learn like to do the same thing over and over again. So I have like everything looks a little fucked up and weird. Like these wild dogs, and then you get a bunch of blanks for everything too. This one is fun. The Gravitic Viscera ring. It's like a stalker anomaly, and it's just like this ring of meat that's like a vortex in there. But yeah, so it's all like unique and weird and grimy. This is a guy getting his shit wrecked by nothing. It's just like these blank white hands that are punching the fuck out of him. The Constricting Presence. And then, you have some like recurring characters. So this is the Falafrak. These are like the armored penis monsters from the tarot deck showing up again in the game. I don't know. It's the kind of thing that I would buy and I might not even play because I just want to see more about it, right? And if you get the tarot deck, you can integrate it into the game because it makes it into like a weirder hard mode where everything is stronger, but you have more access to different types of items that can really rapidly change how the game works. Then we have, I'll save those for last. We have wait, hold on. No, you're all sorry for this. We have the rest cards. So you get 3 rest cards.
Really
in the
big
game.
ones.
Yes, they're huge. They're 4x6. All of the other cards in the game I should mention are tarot card size, which is 70 by 120 millimeters. So they're like really big, lots of room, lots lots more detail than like a Magic the Gathering size card. The game is set during the last 3 days of extinction, and so you, with 1 or 2 exceptions, if you have the expansion set, you do not ever get more rest cards ever, period. That's it. They are the most valuable cards in the game because they allow you to take a break from the fighting and to get a little bit of health back and also to like cook food and stuff like that. So we have a little bit of these cards here, and they are all like things that happen around the campfire and kind of like journal entries from the past few years of my life about how you navigate like how do you live in a world that like how do you process trauma when a world won't stop hurting you, and like how do you continue to move forward, and it's basically like you have to work together. You have to like reach out to your friends to make all of this work. Let me see here. There's one in particular that I wanted to read you about the selfish pursuits. Well, okay. There's also a whole bunch of ones in here that are, you play the rest card and nope, it's actually a restless horror. It eats your rest card and you have to fight this and keep moving. Because it's never going to give you a moment to rest. Yeah, so there's some cards in here that are like they speak to my own experiences as a young man. Here, it's got to be in here. Basically, there's one of them. The reader will be able to find it on their own. Where it's about this guy named Braderick the zoologist, and the guy sitting around the campfire is explaining, like, I lost a good friend, Braderick the zoologist, and when I went to his funeral, I was like stunned by how many people were there, and at first it made me feel small, but then I realized that like all of these wonderful people were like stars in his sky, and I am among them, and we were all part of like the great story of his life. And that's because when I was on a comedy tour, my friend Brad, who ran a show at the Zoo Bar in Lincoln, and he was like the first guy who took me seriously as a comedian, he died. And so I like kind of pay a fantasy homage to him in the game, right? So it's like, yes, it's a fantasy game, but it's also very like true to life, right? Then we have the realm cards, and these are fun because it's set during, like, you know, the smoke is slowly sweeping across the world. And so the first one is a starry night sky. And then as you get deeper into it, you know, you can see as like the smoke is slowly eating up the world until by the end, it's just like a full, like a blood moon and a dark sky and nothing else. Kind of a tone setting for the game.
Oh, yeah.
Final pieces here. We have the trader gods of the game. Each one is like fully rich color, completely insane illustration, including some like totally new stuff, as well as a few things that are redrawn to fit the world from the tarot deck. Each one has a unique rule set, and they're really fucked up and weird, and they completely change how you have to approach the game as well. It's just a really fun, morbid, challenging, weird game where you have to work together to like hack through this extremely hostile world. And it you know, this is the same, the degenerate. It's just him standing upright with the cloud of penises coming out of his mouth. You see like a different version of him. So it was like, I don't normally like drawing the same character twice. So it gave me an opportunity to kind of like experiment with all of it. And then you get some coins that have my broken hand on it on both sides. Well, back of my hand and the palm of my hand, and then you have some custom die as well. And that's it. It's 862 some odd cards. You also get the rule set to integrate the tarot deck, even if you don't have the tarot deck, so you can use that without paying me for it. Took me 5 goddamn years, and it can be yours. That's what I have to say.
Yeah, and I'll be receiving one of my own eventually. I was part of the Kickstarter. Fred was, I guess. But
yeah,
it's going to be coming here, so exciting. Yeah. No, you've been working on this for longer than I've known you, so it's been very gratifying to see it all finally come together after all this work for you. Yeah, it's been fun, and it's gotten a lot of people to like pay attention and see some of the other stuff that I'm making. So it's been really good and invigorating, and I'm excited to see what people have to say, because I've been shipping out hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of boxes to the world, and we'll see what comes next. I can't go into too many details, but I am talking with a video game development company has reached out to me because they want my next game to be their the next video game that they develop. So I'm presently working on a new game called Project Zirzitzung, and they want to do a video game adaptation of that, and then eventually possibly do a video game adaptation of the Restless as well. So that could be really cool if that pulls through the way that I hope that it will. So that's that. If you want a copy, it's on winslowdomain.com. You can get the tarot deck for $60, or you can get the game for $60, or you can get the tarot deck and the game for $20 off for an even 100. It makes it like 1,000 hand-drawn cards. It's a whole ordeal. And it can be yours. It's for 1 to 4 players. It takes about 2 to 5 hours to play. And it's just like a big, enormous art project. So
let me know if you wanna know more, if you wanna see anything else. I have the whole thing here, and shoot me a DM. Blah blah blah. You know how it works. That's what I got.
Yeah, no, this was a very special presentation. I enjoyed getting to get the full walkthrough of your game and everything. It's very exciting to come to fruition.
Yeah, thanks so much, man. Yeah, it was good, and well, I suppose we've been going at it for a minute, but do we have the Patreon, we have new episodes coming out, and all that. Do you have a rec? Anything off the top of your head?
I guess this week my rec can be my guest episode on Qanon Anonymous, or QAA, I think they call it now. But yeah, it's some repeats from our episodes in here, but also some new questions, and it's a fun time. It's good to get some other people talking about their experiences. Like when he was in California, they took him to a Bernie rally once. They talked a little bit about the experience of that, and like getting the wheelchair in there and everything. Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, it's slated. I just finished. I guess my recommendation is that I just finished reading Legacy of Ashes, and that is the history of the CIA. So that's been consuming all of my audio time recently. But yeah, your episode is up next. But yeah, I would definitely give those guys a listen. Check that out. As always, I also suggest listening to Well, There's Your Problem. That's another favorite of mine. And I have like other recs, but I feel like I've been going on for plenty. My rec is that you play my goddamn game, dear listener. So check that out. But we do have we got the Patreon, we got everything else, and we'll be back next month with even more. But if you want to find me, I'm at winslowdomain.com, Winslow Domain on Twitter, and Calculations on Instagram. And you can find us at iftipod@gmail.com or iftipod on Twitter. And Jay, where can they find you?
I'm Jam Blue Sky. That's about it right now.
All right. Well, that's what we have, and we thank you so much for listening, and thank you for being patient with me while I got all this shit together. And if you bought a copy, you'll get it soon.
Stay out of the smoke.
Yeah. All right. I'm From the Internet is created by jaybrandstetter and Winslow Domain. Edited by Steve Brown. Music by Steve Isbrook.